keep on pouring. The world just keeps on turning. It won't be too long. Our world keep on lying while the people keep on dying. The world keeps on turning. It won't be too long.
Hi, this is Tom Dent with That Saturday Show here at the Federal Courthouse and County Courthouse, where tons of people are gathering to protest the possible Roe versus Wade decision to overturn Roe versus Wade.
166 million women in the United States are going to be affected if Roe v. Wade is overturned this summer. That's why it's important now that we're taking the streets to demand that that does not happen. There's a lot to do right now. Abortion rights should be written into the New Mexico Constitution to guarantee that we have abortion guaranteed for every single person in this state. We pay a lot of money in taxes. They should be using that to have a massive expansion of abortion clinics. There's no reason why there should only be 3 abortion clinics in the state of New Mexico. Woo!
Abolish the police!
Every county should have an abortion clinic. And if the private sector will build them, then the state of New Mexico should. So even though we repealed New Mexico's abortion ban a couple years ago in New Mexico, after Roe v. Wade is overturned in the summer, unless we can prevent it, abortion will become a crime for millions of women in states where there are abortion bans like Texas. In 2017, Nancy Pelosi said the Democrats' focus on abortion access is hurting the party. Now look where we are. And this landmark decision has been looming in the horizon with enough time for the Democratic Party enjoying majority control of the Senate and the House to have passed the Women's Health Protection Act.
Women are getting more severe every day. Even though this is a leaked document, and it might tell you, yeah, Roe v. Wade is still in effect, we cannot make a mistake and not take this seriously. Every day women are under attack. We don't have control of our own bodies. There are women being imprisoned, and the right wing continues to push its laws further and further to ban abortions, to criminalize women, to criminalize us, our working women. If the Supreme Court repeals Roe v. Wade, the women will face the greatest consequences. What's more is it'll be our most vulnerable women that face the greatest consequences. It'll be our black women. It'll be our Latino women, our Asian women, our indigenous women. They have everything to lose. We can't stop fighting.
Tons of people here. I don't have the right to comment on this issue, but I will say this. Now is the time to get angry, motivated, and wake everybody the hell up and storm the polls in November and vote all these bastards out. Everyone's civil rights is at stake. Interesting that the information on this rough draft of Supreme Court Justice Alito's draft opinion has been around since February, and now it was suddenly chosen to be leaked right now. Well, good morning, and welcome to That Saturday Show. I'm your host, Tom Dent. The Saturday Show is presented by the Albuquerque Center for Peace and Justice. The center strives to create a world where our collective needs are met sustainably and non-violently. Dre Abeita is my co-host today. Hi, Dre. How are you?
Hello, Brother Tom. How are you today?
All right, and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
We'll get back to Dre after I'm done with these rants and announcements. Fires everywhere. You can see the Hamas fire clearly from Albuquerque, and it's only 5 miles away from Los Alamos Lab. The Hermit fires threatening Las Vegas and Mora. Thousands being evacuated. Fires in the Gila, Ruidoso, hundreds being evacuated. And in the Bosque and more. Come on, FEMA. Come on, New Mexico National Guard. You know, my wife and I, and now the governor, have always wondered why the National Forestry Service always decides to do controlled burns during the windiest months of the year. Come on, Deb Haaland, our Secretary of the Interior from New Mexico, what's the deal? New Mexico fire supply donations can be dropped off at the Southeast Area Albuquerque Police Department substation, that's at Catherine in Louisiana, or the APD Tri-Station at Monte Vista and Central. A temporary shelter is located in the Glorieta Conference Center at 11 New Mexico 50, and Glorieta space is available for pet guardians who need temporary housing for their animals. They also have kennels for those available to those who need them. And for those of you who want to donate, go to helpnewmexico.com and alltogethernm.org. They're now accepting all online monetary donations. Food, clothing, and water and hygiene products can be dropped off at the Glorieta Conference Center. And the Santa Fe County Fairgrounds is housing 40 dogs and 3 cats affected by the Hermit Peaks fire and the California Canyon fires. They're asking for towels, blankets, dog food, toys, snacks, volunteers, and time donations. Last Tuesday, May the 4th, marked the 52nd anniversary of the death of 4 students and the wounding of 9 others protesting the Vietnam Wars and their invasion of Cambodia at Kent State University by the Ohio National Guard. Vietnam was a corporate war that should never have happened, just as Iraq and our occupation of Afghanistan should never have happened. Early absentee voting for the 2022 New Mexico primaries begins this Tuesday, May 10th, and the primaries, the election itself is held on June the 7th. Get out and vote. Young people, get out and vote. Young males, get out and vote. And get in practice for going to the poll in droves in November. Connie Knutson presents the Vision for Race Amity at the Peace Center on Sunday, May the 14th at 3 p.m. with a PowerPoint presentation and a guest speaker as part of the National June 12th effort. Call Connie at 505-985-9171, or for more information, call the Peace Center at 505-268-9557. Please save the date for this important event to be held at 202 Harvard Southeast. All right, that was serious. Now let's lighten up a bit and go to our new feature called Goofy Photos from the Net and Around Town. Our first photo is, well, it's the Isotopes. It's baseball season, and somebody did a truck drawing of Orbit, the mascot of the Isotopes. So yay, Isotopes, and let's all go out to the ball game.
That's very cute.
Our next photo is, I believe, Grover from Sesame Street, and he's got his backpack on, and he's on his hog, and he's cruising out. I don't know exactly where he's cruising, but he's having a great time. Our next photo, it's hard to see, but you can see Mr. and Mrs. Roadrunner hanging out in a little crevice there. Go Roadrunners, State Bird of New Mexico.
That's a very beautiful picture. We have one that actually visits my mom's house. I'm from Asleto Pueblo, and he actually runs back and forth at the top windows, and he pecks on it.
My neighbors feed the Roadrunners. We have about 4 running back and forth in our front yard every day. Where's our next photo? Our next photo is, oh boy, I don't know what this guy is.
Oh no, a spork gone wrong?
I know, I thought he was a spork. He looks like roadkill. Not having a good day and probably going like, oh, help me. Okay, our next photo is, I'm not sure exactly who this guy is. I think it's Gumby, and is he part of the powwow? I can't tell. Somebody's dancing near him.
I do not believe that is Indigenous related.
No.
I don't think so.
I don't know. Somebody
Does
has
look
nice,
like Gumby.
nice.
I would be wondering why Gumby would show up at the powwow, first of all.
Well, Pokey might. I don't know. Yeah, they look like they're having a good time. Let's go on to our next photo. And if you can hone in on that a little bit, this is rather hilarious. The bus actually says Santa Fe Schools, and it's next to a building in Santa Fe that's called Cheeks. So I guess it's kind of funny in the middle of the day that a bunch of school students are taking a field trip to Cheeks.
Oh no! Is that
Yeah, it's one of those joints. It's
need a couple dollar bills.
Yeah, dollar bills and scanty clothing, but we won't go any further on that. Do we have another photo here? Here we go. With sufficient trust, pigs fly just fine.
That's a general state of our anxiety of our society right now.
Yeah, that's exactly where we are. Do we have any more photos left? Oh, here we go. Okay, I'm trying to figure this out. Oh, okay.
Pretty sure it's in the wrong direction.
Yeah, this is a very badly
And a
designed
tree.
bike lane. It's got a telephone pole and a tree in it. Yeah, watch out. Whoops. Smack right into it. Bad urban design, bad road design. Okay, looks like we're done. So right now with me, I have Dre Abeita, and Dre has so many titles I can't keep track of them. You're known as Coyote Walking, and what other titles do you have, Dre?
Well, thank you very much, Tom, first of all, for having me. This is a wonderful opportunity. Dear family, I am Dre Abeita, Coyote Walking in this world, real life, a Sledo Public superhero, proud two-spirited Indigenous warrior. I am on a mission from my ancestors to transform this world, family, and it all starts with our family. So I literally go around calling people brother, calling people sister, calling people sibling, because only together, family, when we are fighting for our families, for our futures, that's how we change the world.
I joke with our new assistant director, Matt, because he goes around calling everybody brother and sister, and when he does that, when anybody does that to me, I kind of jokingly say, well, how's mom doing? And they don't know what to say back. But I've got a good excuse for that. It's Mother Nature, she gave birth to us all, so we're all brothers and sisters. And you're a PhD candidate, and you're on every single graduate committee and student union type of association at UNM. How long have you been going to UNM?
Unfortunately, brother, it has been too long. My partner and my parents are waiting for me to graduate. I'm currently a 9th year doctoral candidate at the Language, Literacy, and Social Cultural Studies Department in the College of Education and Human Sciences at the University of New Mexico. Wow. I have actually become a professional advocate. So I am a survivor of trauma 3 times over, rape and molestation as a ramification of Indian boarding schools when I was a child. In 2008, during a racialized traffic stop on Rio Bravo and Coors, I asked the wrong sheriff for his name and badge number and was arrested. Okay. I lost 9 months of my life due to PTSD. My teaching job in 10th grade, I was at South Valley Academy, shout out to my students. And then after that, I literally couldn't leave my house because my anxiety was so bad. I learned the hard way that power and institutional violence is very real. So I could not drive in the same direction. I could not go shopping. I literally was stuck in my house for 9 months. I had the support of my family. I always talk about, as a critical race, whiteness, intersectional scholar, I always talk about how race, class, the lightness, privilege that I have, the fact that I am a 2nd generation college graduate, those have all been factors, and I call them my superhero powers and my super tools. My third incident with trauma is actually after recovering with my family's support. I started doing nonprofit work and started teaching in academia. And I literally took on in 2018, why I have not graduated yet. I was 290 pounds when I started my PhD program 9 years ago. Wow. I was a fluffy unicorn, and one of my coping strategies from surviving trauma was to be friends with everyone, which does not work, family. I had to learn the hard way. Mm-hmm. But after that, I had latched on to the wrong professor because I had heard about critical race theory and whiteness studies, and as an indigenous person who had been through a colonialist system, don't get me wrong, family, America is built on legacies of slavery, colonialism, and white supremacy. And we really have to look at our deep history to understand what is happening to us currently. Why we have to debate things like Roe versus Wade again in 2022. After all the hard-won battles that our ancestors have fought, why we again have to come into the streets and demand that our rights be acknowledged, because we are human beings. And that is a legacy that I hope to carry. And that's why I'm here for my ancestors, because I have been whitened, I have been colonized, I have been taught by Ivy League schools, and I've weaponized that and used my voice and all of my training to help uplift other people. So in 2018, when I was 290 pounds, I had a white male person who said, I know knowledge. Sit at my feet and learn from me. And he was abusing circle after circle of women. And he was sleeping with them, and he was hurting us, and he was triggering my PTSD episodes on purpose to control me, because I am shiny, and people come to me because I have an open heart. So he was using my parties and my community events to prey upon other victims. So when finally a brave soul came forth, I was the witness in her sexual harassment suit, and in 2018, we demanded that they listen to our voice. And because I had had a history of student organizing, and at this moment I've had over 52 conference presentations, but over 48 different leadership roles in the last 5 years in my capacity as a graduate student organizer at the University of New Mexico. As just now, I finished my term as the chair of the American Educational Research Association Graduate Student Council, the leader of the world's largest graduate student council. I represented over 6,000 people at a $27 million nonprofit. I actually got arrested and they threatened to kick me out, which is part of my advocacy work. But we took on the university, and unfortunately, that means the students never win. So the white male predator gets to retire. I created a fuss. They restructured the entire college. But unfortunately, giant institutions worth millions of dollars are there to protect themselves and not the students. Because if they ever said, yes, this predator hurt these people, it opens up for lawsuits. So I learned the hard way how we have to fight for our sanity, for our humanity, for our ability to be in those spaces like higher educational institutions. So since then, I have been helping not only myself, but other colleagues and other students in different universities in different states. I'm at my 9th case, helping graduate students and undergraduate students take their cases to the Office of Equal Opportunity, or OEOO, depending on their unique positionality. Some cases have been academic theft. Some have been discrimination based on gender, based on race, based on disability. Others have been straight kidnapping and abuse. And that is my rallying cry. As a graduate student leader of the world's largest organization, I had 3 messages. 1, if you are marginalized, we are being pushed out of academia faster than we know what to do with. 2, it is not a safe environment. From everything from the unsafe COVID working conditions to the fact that I make $14,400 as a full-time graduate student at the University of New Mexico, and that entire university is run on graduate student labor. From teaching the classes to doing the research, they're literally making their millions off of our sweat, labor, and tears. And the fact that my family is not covered under health insurance is criminal. The fact that the University of New Mexico shut down graduate student housing because it was filled with asbestos and would have cost $52 million, and they closed it during COVID. Last May, that facility closed. My international graduate students have no options now when it comes to safe housing within the UNM area. And the third is that it's too expensive. Unless you have private funding or are inherited your wealth, like I said, as a member of the reservation and the tribe of Isleta, I'm part of the 1%. Even though I'm not a millionaire, the fact that my partner is an engineer and the fact that I'm a second-generation college graduate makes me the 1%, and that has a responsibility that I'm trying to serve my people and literally tell everyone, college is too expensive right now, we need help. So basically, I'm a professional advocate and real-life superhero taking on monsters, be they institutions, people, ideologies, or policy.
Wow, that's amazing and terrible at the same time. It's absolutely terrible that you had to go through all that. It can be absolutely horrible out there, especially when you're trying to be yourself. You've come out like a bright, shining light, and you're doing incredible things now. How many people are you working with right now? I heard you're working with C&M students that are matriculating to UNM's humanities program.
Thank you so much. So I currently have many hats, as many graduate students, in order to make ends meet. So one of my graduate assistantships is with the New Mexico Humanities Now project. It is a gateway between C&M and UNM, and we are trying to help students basically transfer over. We provide Summer Academy. It's going to have 2 amazing courses. It also provides a $1,000 stipend, as well as graduate students like myself to help mentor and get them through the courses to have a smooth transition. What we're trying to do is really expand the college network we have. Look at the resources. And my third point was how expensive higher education is right now. At the end of the day, as a professor who's been taught literally for 10 years, 6 years at Brookline College, 4 years at New Mexico Highland School of Social Work, and several classes at UNM, and have done research at APS and a former youth group called Loud. Shout out Loud. Seriously, family. This group activists, literally 75% formerly incarcerated, a significant number LGBTQ, had been imprisoned and incarcerated by the system. And they literally went to the state legislatures and said, this is what happened to me in the system. I was abused in this way. I was beat up in this way. I got set up because in the state of New Mexico, family, I don't know if you knew this, but in a domestic violence call, they have to arrest someone. And the majority of the time, if it's a domestic call between a child and a parent, they will arrest the child. They have to arrest someone during a domestic violence call. What kind of law is that to have for New Mexico? So many of these kids literally called me from the sidelines as a researcher and were like, if you're not an activist, then who is? So I'm just saying, there's a lot that are going on in our communities, but we're rallying our voices. So what we're doing at New Mexico Humanities Now. Sorry, family. I'm a professor, I'm a coyote, I'm also a storyteller, so we go in a roundabout way of telling things. But going back to the amazing work at UNM, what we're trying to do is use the resources that we have. So because higher education is too expensive right now, a great advantage of having C&M is to get all of their main coursework out of the way. They have smaller class sizes, it is a lot less expensive, and they're able to get a solid foothold and get an associate's degree. So they can get an associate's degree and then transfer in those credits to get their bachelor's at the University of New Mexico. So what we're trying to, family, and with that transition, you'll get a less expensive start for your higher education degree. But with the transition to UNM, you're going to have more facilities and a lot more resources, like our amazing library, and more opportunities. So that's one of the things I do.
So with what the governor's doing now, your C&M students, when they matriculate, their college is pretty much paid for, but grad school you still have to pay on your own, right?
That is correct. Although I did have an amazing scholarship for my tribe, thank you so much from the Pueblo of Isleta. Seriously, they have done wonders to support me during my educational journey. Unfortunately, say you get a scholarship for $3,000. That in reality is only 1 month of expenses and maybe part of books. So what are you really going to be living off of for the next 4 or 5 months for the term? Right. And then when you have your GA-ship, like I said, it's only $1,400 at the end of every month. Yeah. So if you have a partner, if you have children, if you're paying rent, if you're paying a car payment, it's almost impossible as a graduate student to afford anything. The other thing, I am talking with New Mexico State Legislature Art de la Cruz, and he's proposing a bill. I saw your last week's episode. He's proposing a bill to actually help New Mexico become a lender for graduate students. Mm-hmm. It's one of many ideas to help us lose graduate student debt, but I will be graduating with $130,000 worth of debt. I have had scholarships, but again, like I said, they're in 3,000 or 5,000 amounts, but that's 1 month or 2 months of the entire time that you're going to be in school. Mm-hmm. So really, the financial system is setting up students to fail. In addition, because of COVID, there are a lot of households that make too much income. Mm-hmm. And in a poor state like New Mexico, family, I have to remind you, we are one of the poorest states in the nation. We are so poor. So when it comes to pay and when it comes to compensation, we always receive the short end of the stick. And when we compare ourselves to other states, we can't compete, which is why we're getting killed with people who are coming in and buying up our property and buying up our things. Right. And we can't afford here in New Mexico to hire our own people. I will have a PhD and graduate from New Mexico, but I will need a salary of $90,000, which sounds crazy for New Mexico, you guys, but for the rest of the United States, it's not. To have a PhD, to have that much experience, that is the bare minimum. But in New Mexico, it's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. I'd have to be, the dean of the College of Education. Probably doesn't even make that much money. So how are we going to tell our graduate students, go ahead and get all that debt, go ahead and get your PhD, but guess what? There's not going to be a job for you. So I'm just saying it's a difficult situation, but we have to start addressing these things or no one's going to, why go to college?
Yeah, well,
I hate to say that.
You're not alone. Just for undergraduate, it took me 27 years to graduate, but I did. And twice my student debt almost killed me. And there's a lot of people in the Peace Center and advocates out there that agree that President Biden should issue an executive order and cancel student debt. I mean, it's great for the economy. It frees up everybody. It would absolutely help a state as poor as New Mexico.
Absolutely, but why would they never do that? They would never do that. Family, I'm just telling you right now, the politicians will promise that till the end of days, but they'll never actually do it.
I know.
Why would they never do that?
They're owned by the banks. Yeah.
Absolutely. There's too much money. It is modern indentured servitude. Our debtors, I'm waiting for this, family. I am a historian. I'm a critical race theorist, which means, family, I'm not scary. I know I can be intimidating, but being a critical race theorist basically means I, as an indigenous person, as a person of color, I believe that my life experiences, that my community's lived experiences, that our histories, that our languages, that our cultures are important, that they matter, that they should be studied, and they should be reflected in the common knowledge of our society, which is why I'm asking.
Exactly. We've got to wrap this up. Thank you very much for being here,
Thank you so much
Dre.
for having me.
Coming up, we have music by Levi Dean, and Matt John will be interviewing them. And afterwards, there might be something special. There might be a surprise. And then we're interviewing Andres Valdez of Vecinos United. He's talking about a couple of events he has coming up on police violence and other issues. So. Thanks very much for watching, and enjoy the music with Levi.
Good morning. We are here with singer-songwriter Levi Dean and his accompanist Bryn Roberts, and they're in the group Levi Dean and the Mesa Rats. And Levi has a lot of experience with touring. Levi, can you tell us how your tours have been? And I think touring's not for everybody, but I think people should try it anyway.
Yeah, they've been great experiences. In my earlier days, I really appreciate touring and traveling, kind of road tripping. So whenever I would go on a road trip, I would make sure to book gigs, and there's a few rules on the road. Is I'm never turned down a free meal and never turned down a free place to stay. So we definitely took advantage of those opportunities when they came, because never know when and how we're going to get to the next spot.
Excellent. And so I want to ask you, Bryn, what is favorite few venues in the area?
Well, in terms of going to see live music, I live up in Santa Fe, so I'm a little bit partial to the Santa Fe area. Definitely seen a lot of concerts at the Bridge. Cowgirl Barbecue is another great place for some live music. And most of the breweries in town seem to have some live music, which is always appreciated. Good combination, beer and music. So,
excellent. And so, and how was it when you toured England?
That was an amazing experience. My wife's parents actually lived over there for a few years, so we were like, hey, let's go visit them. And like I usually do, if I'm going on a trip, I usually try to book some shows. So I was able to book about 5 or 6 shows in the London area, and we stayed there for a couple weeks, played some good music, and had a blast.
Excellent. So you've got a few albums out. So if you want to take a moment and plug your albums and your upcoming shows.
Thank you. Yeah, years ago when I was living in the area, I had a band, Dean Station. We put out a couple albums. You can find them on CD Baby, I think. And then most recently put out a few albums with the band Levi Dean and the Americats that are available on Spotify, and we hope to be recording with Levi Dean and the Mesa Rats soon. So keep an eye out for that.
And coming up, your upcoming shows.
Upcoming shows, we do have a Ukraine relief benefit show at 50/50 Coffee and Pub on the 21st. We have a show at Tractor Brewing in Los Lunas on May 27th. And I have a solo songwriter show on May 29th at Juno Brewing.
Thanks very much. Without further ado, Levi Dean and Bryn Roberts.
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, Lord knows I'm doing the best I can. Spent all night in my utility van. I'm trying to hold on as everything is slipping away. Yeah, I kicked the bottle across the floor, knocked my head and slid open the door, and I stepped out to a brand new day. Now I'm staring into the sunrise from the big box parking lot. The sun's rising over them hills and I'm just sitting trying. So I'll be heading for the mills and maybe that's where my pain will stop. Not a cookie cutter prefab kind of man. Gotta keep moving or I get stuck in the sand. Only Lord knows how many miles I've roamed. Yeah, I've scaled the front range, slid down the western slope, floated the rio, but never once lost my hope. And now I'm yearning for a place to call home. Now I'm staring into the sunrise from the big box parking lot. The sun's rising over them hills and I'm just sitting trying. So I'll be heading for the mills and maybe that's where my pain will stop. Yeah, my legs are tired and need a place to lay their boots under a tree filled with fruit. Oh, yeah, I need a home to dig my roots. And I'm staring into the sunrise from the big box parking lot. The sun's rising over them hills and I'm just sitting trying. So I'll be heading for the mills and maybe that's where my pain will stop.
side, then you spun me back around. Rope around my neck was tied real tight. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't do anything right. I'm taking my power back. My body may fall, my spirit won't crack. Yeah, I'm taking my power back. No matter what I'm told, there's nothing I lack. Instead of running off the road, struggling to get free, I can stop the car anytime, 'cause it belongs to me. If I go straight, it'll be my choice. Get back home, I listen to my inner voice. I'm taking my power back. Body may fall, but my spirit won't crack. Yeah, I'm taking my power back. No matter what I'm told, there's nothing I lack. When things are raging now, tired, I'll close my eyes. Power lives inside of me. Ah, things were getting wild and out of control. So I went back to basics. I went straight to my soul. Yeah, I dug deep in search of what went wrong. I uncovered a ball of fire that had been there all along. I'm taking my power back. My body may fall, but my spirit won't crack. Yeah, I'm taking my power back. No matter what I'm told, there's nothing I lack. When things are raging now, inside I will close my eyes. 'Cause the power lives inside of me.
Wow, I hope you enjoyed the music. That was great music by Levi Dean and Bryn Roberts. And now we're back in the studio with Drea Abeda.
Hi, Tom. Thank you so much for having me. Earlier, family, you met male Dre, and I am female Dre. I am a proud two-spirit Indigenous warrior. So thank you for having both of us today. We're so excited to talk about our work and our lives.
Yeah, it's great. Thanks for coming.
Oh, I definitely wanted to hit on my medical marijuana research. So, family, I am a medical marijuana activist, researcher, advocate, and revolutionary. I also have 21,000, I am 43 shy of 22,000 family, social media followers on 7 platforms. This is part of my critical race, whiteness, intersectional vlogging dissertation project. So I've basically been reflecting on my own life. I literally started my life as a heterosexual woman, Indigenous person. And COVID changed everything in my life. Trauma changed everything in my life. And I have been talking with my partner and some of my good family for about 18 months. And in April of 2021, last year, I actually came out as two-spirited family. And for those of you who do not know or not familiar with the term, it is different from transgender. Unlike some of my siblings from around the world who were born in a body that was not corresponding with their gender identity, I actually have 2 different selves within my body. I have a male self and I have a female self. That is my gender identity. I actually came out as bisexual to my sociology. Oh no, actually before that in college. So I am also bisexual. So I am Dre Abeita, Coyote Walking in this world, real life Esleto Pueblo superhero, proud two-spirited Indigenous warrior, PTSD, multiple trauma survivor, medical marijuana activist, pastor, actually former pastor family, in an effort to decolonize. I'm just Coyote now of Coyote's Lodge, House of Spirituality, Critical Race Theory, and Medical Marijuana. So I basically challenge all of the systems and ask people to think differently. I created my own religion, brother.
Wow. Well, you do everything and you are everything.
I am literally a superhero who's just role modeling what is possible. Like I said, I lost 110 pounds. I saved my own life after being diabetic since age 15. I literally started with an elder's yoga tape and started adding walks in every day. I share that story with everyone. I am a graduate student family who took on a $27 million institution, and they threatened to arrest me as both a council member and the chair of their graduate student association. And so that means that I had a very powerful voice advocating for the inequality within the system and how I was trying to get one meal for 75 of my food insecure fellow graduate students who are attending an annual meeting that we had 2 weeks ago. So I literally think that if we start rethinking our past and start realizing that literally my whole gig is creating a global family, realizing that our common experiences, our struggles, we're all the same at the end of the day.
And how do you use marijuana? Do you use it in spiritual practice?
No, medical marijuana is my medicine. It has nothing to do family. Although I have a church, it is a non-traditional church. It's actually based on critical race theory. I do smoke as part of the church service. So my gig is, Coyote Lodge House of Spirituality is not a religion. It's not based on any religion and family. Don't forget, all religion is man-made. What we're trying to do is find a way to feed our spiritual souls. So in Coyote Lodge House of Spirituality, we're not praying to a god. We pray to our ancestors. So I literally say, hey, Gammy, it's your favorite trickster coyote. And I talk to her. And I talk to my grandpa, my great-grandfather, and I ask for their guidance and blessings. So as a spiritual leader, and traditionally two-spirited people, sorry, family, I don't remember if I finished the story. Not the story, but for Native Indigenous people, our stories, our history, and our culture. So that's also how we communicate and how we understand the world. So traditionally, two-spirited individuals who have a male self and a female self, we're spiritual leaders, we're community people, because I am a mother and I am a father. I am a warrior and I am a caregiver.
Well, two selves have been honored by Native Americans for time immemorial. And you're saying you're the trickster, and if you don't know it out there, the coyote is the trickster.
Absolutely. And I also tell everyone I am medicated 100% of the time. So I am here to prove to the world that although I've survived multiple traumas, although I have PTSD and major anxiety, because part of my vlogging project, excuse me, family, allergies, is actually showing my whole life. So everywhere from having a panic attack and being stuck in my room for 3 days and talking about how many times I've been sick and how many days I haven't been able to work, to chairing the world's largest educational association. But I always tell my family, I am medicated 100% of the time that I am awake. So I literally, during my high periods of stress during COVID, was taking the equivalent of 40 to 80 milligrams every 2.5 hours throughout the day, as well as vaping, and as well as using butane hash oil. So when I'm doing my vlogs, you'll see me, family, hitting Mr. Monopoly and Terminator 2, and I actively talk about how people like myself who have 99% of a PhD, family, who do extraordinary things, who are published authors, who have taught university students for almost a decade, can be fully medicated. Because again, medical marijuana is my medication. I am tired of it being a drug that is criminalized, that was literally a governmental policy meant to criminalize and institutionalize the prison industrial complex on the lives of Black and brown communities and poor whites, family. So please, I am not a criminal, and my life story is here to prove that. So, yes.
And none of you are criminals now, as long as you don't have more than 2 ounces and take it out on the street.
Good to know. I have a medical marijuana card and have had it since it was available here in New Mexico, but have been medicating literally to help with my PTSD since I've been in college, and I attended Dartmouth College. From 1999 to 2004, I got Parkhursted, family. So as an educator and a professor, I can tell you, I got kicked out of college for 1 semester.
I think you're beating
but
me.
You can go back.
I went to 5 colleges. It sounds like you went to 7. I don't know.
Just Dartmouth and the University of New Mexico.
I thought did you work at Highlands? You didn't?
I actually taught there.
Okay.
I taught social work students who are my family for 4 years, and then 6 years at Brookline College School of Nursing. So my family are literally educators, nurses, and social workers. We're taking over the world through humanizing educational change.
Yeah. Well, folks, you've had the honor of meeting Dre Abeita and Drea Abeda, and thank you very much for being on.
Thank you so much.
Happy trails. Have a very happy life. You're doing amazing work, and right now we're going to fade to an interview with Andres Valdez, the executive director of Vecinos United, and we'll see you then. Yeah, and we're back with that Saturday show, and with me is Andres Valdez. Andres is the executive director of Vecinos United. Vecinos United has been around town for many, many years, working on consumer and police issues. Andres and I go back a long way. We probably met each other in '92. I was canvas director for New Mexico PIRG, and he was canvas director for Vecinos United, and we ever since then we've been working on police issues, police reform, working with the DOJ on the consent decree, and Andreas has a couple of big forums coming up on police reform, crime, and the price crisis, like Drea was just talking about. Consumer protection. His first forum is Wednesday, May 8th at the Palo Duro Senior Center. That's at 5221 Palo Duro Avenue. And his second forum is Saturday, May the 21st at the Special Collections Library. That's at 423 Central on the corner of Edith and Central. So Andreas, since you're here, you want to talk to and Brian Colon or Raul Torres or whoever wins the election for Attorney General, you want to talk about legislative fraud and the different elections that are coming up. What do you have planned, Andres?
Well, thank you, Tom, for having me here, and I'm here. These are very important issues that are coming up. What's really important is a couple of things. It's the thing about price gouging and the responsibility of the Attorney General to those kinds of things having to do with prices of gas, nevertheless, prices of everything. The other big thing, and also is the responsibility of district attorneys and attorney generals, is this case, and it sort of proves how rotten police reform is, that it's not really working. It's a case where a young woman was shot 21 times by Bernalillo County Sheriff's deputies 2 years ago. Right. It's been a while. Right. And the DA took the case. You're supposed to look into those things to determine probable cause or not. He didn't do anything about that. In fact, I have in front of me a newspaper article, and I'm just kind of going to give you the dates. Let's see if I can move it here.
There's a similar case like that with APD when Ken Reese was shot crouching behind a car a number of times by APD. And we're going to try to get members of his family on the show to talk about that.
That's really great. Yes, it's important. What's happening is the district attorney is abdicating his responsibility. And what's important about this newspaper article, I'm going to read the date for people who are interested in it. It's July the 23rd, 2020. And what's interesting is the district attorney, in a letter, Hector Balderas, the Attorney General, writes, you wrote that you were concerned about your ability to be impartial regarding law enforcement cases, and those aren't the exact words of this thing, but that's basically what it's saying. And so he's revealing that he can't prosecute these cases, which has been going on for years. Over 20 years, we've seen there's a pattern how district attorneys don't do their jobs in prosecuting these cases. And so while there's a lot of good police officers, I might say, and I need to say that there's those that have committed murder, and they've been allowed to commit murder and excessive use of force, and it's a pattern that's been in existence for over 20, 25 years. Kerry Brandenburg had a certain way of dealing with those cases, and now Raul Torres just blatantly comes out and says he has a conflict of interest in prosecuting bad cops. So the Attorney General took on this case, and he hasn't done anything with it either. He's going to leave office without actually doing that part of his job. And what's even worse is now the guy who has admitted that he has a conflict is running for Attorney General. So he'll be the top dog in the state where we have no hope. It's hopeless that we're ever going to have justice regarding police officers that should be prosecuted. Now we're starting from a premise that nobody is above the law. Some people says, well, what about a reform here, reform there? But if you don't prosecute cops that kill people, and well, this is a perfect example, I would say, of murder, that we have a police state, and it gets worse. Last legislative session, or the session of 2020, right after George Floyd's death, everybody went into a frenzy to create police reform. Our legislature, they basically fooled us.
Two of the most important bills weren't even passed; they were just tabled.
Exactly, they were bills that would have taken away authority for people that have a conflict of interest in prosecuting officers, which is the DAs, and they would have placed it in the hands of independent prosecutors and investigators in front of a court, a judge, which is a higher authority than the DA or the AG, to determine probable cause. And they killed those bills. They wouldn't even give them committee hearings. Our friends, it's unfortunate, are in the middle of this whole thing. Senator Joseph Cervantes on the Senate side, on the House side, Gail Chasey, who's the chairwoman of the House Judiciary Committee.
I just saw her driving down the street.
She wouldn't even return our calls. It's really interesting. You know, you just.
I thought she was going to the protest, the Roe v. Wade protest, but she went to Slade Street Cafe instead.
Oh, interesting. But well,
you know, we knew that at any time there was 230 to 620 excessive force cases that kind of disappeared. They were backlogged by APD. They weren't reviewed properly by the Citizens Police Oversight Agency, and Raul Torres had a backlog and did a very bad job of addressing and prosecuting any of those cases.
Well, that's true, and I mean, right here he reveals why, because he has a conflict of interest in prosecuting these guys, and then what's really bad.
Well, what exactly is his conflict of interest?
Well, the conflict of interest is that he relies on all of these officers to work and fight on all of the other cases of crime. So they actually become friends, and they need each other to fight the other cases. So when they become friends, they have a symbiotic relationship.
So they're overlapping and covering up.
Yeah, so they end up, well, I'm not going to prosecute this guy like this, or I'm not going to prosecute these cases. Mm-hmm. And it's like almost become a standard, a rule, like an undercover secret rule that they have. It's gone on for years. It's amazing. It's the pattern, and that's what we're trying to break through. And that's where if police officers aren't prosecuted for murder and excessive use of force criminally, they're going to continue to do it. And even if you come up with laws such as the Civil Rights Act that of 2021, that really, I'm very concerned. It very much appears to be a fraud. And the reason I'm saying this is because all of the sections covered in this bill, House Bill 4, were already part of law in one little paragraph saying that officers are immune from prosecution, except it doesn't apply to...
But it was already there. It was already written.
Yeah, it doesn't apply to wrongful death, bodily injury, personal injury, property damage resulting from assault and battery, false imprisonment, false arrest, malicious prosecution. So there was no need for this.
Well, Andres, we almost have to go.
Thank you.
Attend Andreas's
time.
forums at the Palo Duro Senior Center on May 18th and at the Special Collections Library on Saturday, May 21st. I want to thank you very much for being here, Andreas. And coming up, we have our music geek, Matt Johns, will close the show in honor of the 52nd anniversary of the shooting at Kent State, covering the song Ohio by Neil Young or by Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young. Thank you for watching that Saturday show, and have a great weekend.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Tin soldiers and Nixon coming, we're finally on our own. This summer I hear the drumming, 4 dead in Ohio. Gotta get down to it, soldiers are gunning us down. Should have been done long ago. What if you knew her and found her dead on the ground? How can you run when you know? La 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 la. Gotta get down to it, soldiers are cutting us down. Should have been done long ago. What if you knew her and found her dead on the ground? How can you run when you know? Four dead in Ohio, 4 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 dead in Ohio.
Until the next time, it's time to say goodbye. When you out here in the streets, keep it real, 505. We love everybody, we just want to let you know. Thanks for tuning in to that Saturday.